The best performers this pre-season, if you're just joining us, Jesse Motlop, he's 20 and plays a vital role because if there's one area of their personnel, it's probably the small forward that someone needs to step up. So he's 20. Elijah Hollands, standout, he's 21. And De Koning, my man's 24. They've been the three standouts along with McGovern this pre-season.
I want to put De Koning on the radar with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When do you know what a player is? What age and how many games in? The Koning discussion's a ripper for me. I'm not as bullish. You want to pay him $1 million a year and lock him away for life. I want to see it.
I do.
I want you to tell me what his best game was. When was his best game that he said, nah, we're not losing today?
They're
the sort of games I'm looking for.
Well, there was a couple of games towards the back end last year when he rucks and he. So I just got his numbers up because you question without notice. But there's a game against GWS last year, round 24. He's had 16. He's had 34 hitouts. He's had 6 clearances, 10 contested possessions, and I've gone. But he's got to be rucking. So that's strange.
Okay.
Pitnet's the perfect backup ruckman, but he's the backup ruckman. Curnow, Mackay, De Koning in the ruck. That's the mix. I don't think you can play Pitnet and De Koning because it takes the minutes away from him. Now, he hasn't been fit enough to ruck for a full game and to stand up. But now at 24, with the body the way that he is, with the preseason that he has, it's got to be his midfield now. He's got to be the one driving that in the centre bounce. He's aggressive. He takes a contested mark down the line. He can go forward if he needs to. But he's your big battering follow-up, clearance beast, throw some knees around, throw some elbows around. He's rough. And so that's where I see him. I think he's a ruckman.
So he's got to be in the top 8 ruckman for the year?
Yeah, I think that's realistic.
Is
yeah,
that
I do. Yeah. So you go through them. Gawn, Darcy and Jackson at Fremantle. Big Briggsy. GWS is probably in that category now.
Jackson's a good comparison. He's that type of player. He's a bit of a roamer. He can play forward as well. Now, I'll be honest, I want to see more.
Okay.
I'm not a believer at this stage, clearly as much as you. Can we just touch on the Hawks quickly?
Yep.
So the Hawks yesterday, there's some positives from their game. I thought, again, Connor McDonald was terrific in the midfield / forward. Kicked a few goals. They've got a kid there called Henry Hustwaite. Played a couple of games late last year, kicked a couple of goals against the D's in one of them. He's doing some things. He's a midfielder that's a clearance type midfielder, more like he's a make them stand still, freeze the opponent type guy. He's got a wiggle. He's got a slalom run. It's all slow, but it seems to put people into some sort of trance, like Pendlebury does. You know how the time stands. He's one of those type of guys. He's 195 centimetres.
They're all huge.
He's massive.
They are huge. So I was speaking to, just to go off track here, I was speaking to Jared Schofield last night, who's at West Coast. He speaks about Ginby, or Ginby, whichever way you pronounce it correctly. He's just a massive man. They got Elijah Hewitt there, who is massive. Jai Cully, they reckon, has grown a couple of steps. So all these midfielders now are just giants. We look at Tom Green and what he's doing. So that you're right, and you want that right mix. That's why Fremantle have put Young on ball, and Fife, hopefully, fingers crossed, looks to be fit back on ball, because that's what you need. We just spoke to Michael Voss. Cripps has done it for a long time. So that's been one of the biggest changes I see in the game is the big midfielders.
How many goals is Nick Watson going to kick? What's the game yesterday with Josh
Tell me about
Gavlich
him.
and Bucks? My God, does he take your eye? He is everywhere. It's so good to see a young player come in and attack every contest with such passion and run up, work up the field, work back. He smarts where he assesses the ball drop quicker than most players. So he's learning off the best.
We've done the over and under for win-loss. Can I set an over and under for Nick the Wizard Watson goal tally this year? So if I set the line at 30...
Before you do that, Bucks told me yesterday there's 9 players kicked 50-plus last year. About 18 kicked 40-plus. And about 40 kicked 30-plus.
Okay, so if I set the line at 36, would you
36?
go... 36? Well, yeah, would you go over or under that?
Oh, well, you're going under that because there's only been 20 players. Or did I just give you the numbers, didn't I?
Jack Ginnivan kicked 40 in 2022.
Yeah.
The 30, I think that is a fair...
Hawks are going to win 8 games for the year. Pies won 16, 17.
Yeah. So you go under...
You're going to see more ball.
I'm going to go over.
Over?
Yeah, I'm going to go over 36. He's better than...
You haven't even seen him. How are you doing this?
Well, you've just been
You're doing this from Adelaide.
You've been raving about him. And I've
You
seen
haven't even seen him move
I've
1 metre.
seen enough. I think he
You haven't
gets.
seen enough?
I think he
What do you
gets
mean
to
you've seen enough?
41. 41.
You've seen enough.
Okay, well, I'll put my you know what's on the line.
No, I think it'd be a huge return. If he can get to 40, he wins the Rising Star.
Well,
That's
does he?
that's a
Well,
massive season.
Jai Amos kicked 41. He didn't win the Rising
Yeah,
Star. I know
well,
he's a key forward, not a small forward, but
Well, I think if this kid kicks 40 plus, he wins the Rising Star. But I think you can put him down for 30 to 35 goals, which would be a huge return for a first-year player.
just prior to that ad break, with one of the great radio teasers, some of the things that happened needed to be seen to be believed. Like what?
Like Nick Martin, who was All-Australian halfway through last year as a wingman, playing the Nick Dacos freewheeling halfback flank role. Don't worry about your man. Just become an extra midfielder. He was unreal. You have to see it to believe that they can convert this player, who's only played a couple of seasons of football, into that value. It's great coaching, and it takes a lot for the rest of the group to give up to allow that player to play that role. And they also had the key position defenders of Reid and Mackay, and it looks super stable.
You mentioned Reid last week, I think, and how important he is. This is our Green Shoot segment for Nilex. Elevate your summer garden maintenance with Nilex watering products. Water like a Nilex expert, available at Bunnings Warehouse. Is that position a cop out? Now, I say that respectfully because it's really important. This is the freewheeling halfback. But I like Martin delivering the ball inside 50, and I like him hitting. I like him hitting the score. To me, he's a potential goal-kicking midfield forward half-type player. I don't know. It's in vogue to put everyone to half-back, and a lot of teams do it with the young players, and I get that as they try and acclimatise themselves to playing each week with the rigours of footy. And West Coast are going to do the same with Harley Reid and McKercher and Sheasel, Dacos. We know all of that. But Martin, is it the right use for him when he can be impactful, scoreboard impactful? I mean.
He's still finding his way right down the other end of the field. He's still finding his way inside 50 and had 2 or 3 shots at goal last set. I know they're only playing themselves, and before we get any text messages coming, all you can report on is what you're seeing and what the changes are. And the changes at the Bombers are I think, significant. I look at the standards that they are setting, and every time I go and watch the Bombers, Stringer's in the reserves team.
Yeah, so I love this.
Yes, he's having to fight his way back in because guys like Menzie,
Durham.
Durham's going in as a genuine mid. He's in at centre bounces. He's not a wingman anymore. I like that. It's getting harder for Heppel to find a spot. I mean, he's half-back flank at the moment, but if you're prepared to play the freewheeling types off half-back, you've got Redman and Martin. They've now got 2 half-backs that can light it up. I don't know whether you want to slow it down with Heppel, so let's just wait and see how that eventuates. But the one asterisk that I got on the Essendon Footy Club is if you recruit players that don't dominate a position, you can spend their whole football journey trying to find the spot to place them.
Who we talk about? Cox? Yeah.
Nick Cox is a player without a position. He's not even on the track at the moment. But where's he going to play?
Oh, it's a good question. Because they've got everything, but they don't have the one thing you need, and that's a defined position. And unless you can embrace that, like I played with Justin Westhoff, and he was great because he just play wherever. He play forward, go back, can play wing. If he goes in the ruck, he play, and he did it really well, whatever role that he played. But some players can't handle it. What meetings are you going to during the week? Who reviews your game? Which lines are you going to? Where do you spend your time in training sessions? So that's a really good debate. Is he a Nick Blakey half back? I don't know. Is he a wingman? He needs to be tougher. In the contest, he hasn't been strong enough, and he's let himself down with some poor efforts, and I get his body's not developed. But I wouldn't be giving up on him yet because the talent is raw.
You can't give up on elite picks, but Sam Draper looks like he's lost a few kegs too. Looks terrific.
There were 8 players that earned above $1.2 million in 2023. What is Errol Gulden worth?
Well, what he's worth and what he's going to get to stay at Sydney are 2 different discussions.
Mm-hmm.
If he was to be lured by another club, he's north of 1.2.
Has to be, doesn't he?
Has to be.
He's a top 8 player now in the league.
Yeah, but to stay, he wants to win a premiership, so you've got to allow some scope to build a list elsewhere. You can't just take all the money. It's like the quarterback takes all the cash, can't pay for anyone you've got to throw it to. So you've got no skill on the outside. You've got to spend
unless
it
you're the
wisely.
Chiefs who paid Mahomes $500 million and they still won. This is probably debunks your argument a little bit, but you're right.
No,
on the premise, you're right.
I did play Jones, who stood aside from the start of the season, Chris Jones. But no, I think he's $1 million player. There's no doubt about that.
Is he $1 million at Sydney, or is he unders $1 million?
I think what you do is you walk in and you sort of say, look, we know we're in the top 2 or 3 players here. Pay us accordingly. He's better than Heaney.
Yep.
He's potentially
he's their best player now.
He's their best player already?
I think so now. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's their best player? What does that command? $1 million?
Yeah, I think if there's 19 players that earned $1 million, that averages out to one per club is earning $1 million. He's the $1 million player at Sydney, and then you build in some incentives in there that he can earn above 1.2 if he hits some benchmarks and the cap goes up and all of that. But these are the numbers we're talking now. I just feel like Errol Gulden's contract has gone under the radar. He's born and bred. We know that, loves the club. Everything he says, you believe. So for that reason, I think everyone thinks he's going to stay. But we talk about Hugo Hagan, we talk about English, we talk about Bailey Smith. No one's talking about Errol Gulden being out of contract. Like he's the one that someone should be offering huge money to get. Like someone like a North Melbourne, or I know it's unrealistic that he would leave, but some of the offers that will come across his management desk will be massive.
No, can't afford for him to leave. We talk about game development, right? So to have these academy players in Sydney go on and be the best player in our competition and command massive coin is such a lure for those young kids deciding, am I playing cricket? Am I playing rugby league? Gee, footy. Hey, Errol Gulden, he's earning $1.5 million a year playing AF. $1.5 million a year. That's what we need. We actually need him to be a driver of our competition. So I've got no doubt he'll be tracking towards the Dustin Martin type
and
paycheck.
I reckon they put in there, not that clubs do this, but this time next year he'll be the captain of that footy club. I asked him, do you want to captain the club? He said, yep. So I think he not only does he sign, I think
they just made
this time next year, I'm just calling it, it's a prediction, he will be captaining Sydney. Okay.
The captain they've just made will only captain for about 10 games at that stage.
Hold me to it, Kingy. Errol
Mills
is captain.
You're celebrating Mills
year.
being made captain and you're giving him 10 games.
Yep, that's it. Hey, you set me some homework. Do you want to inform us what it was?
Well, I reckon the Brownlow medal has become an event that only 15 guys can win.
No doubt.
At the start of the season. And I just said to you, let's go head to head. Let's pick 5 players each. I don't know who your 5 are.
1 for 1.
You don't know who my 5 are.
Mm-hmm.
Go 1 for. I hope you got a couple that are different.
Yeah. So can I just say, I loved this. So Kingy has said, which 5 players are a lock to be in the top 10 of the Brownlow? Now, I haven't picked Nick Dacos because I've left that to you because you said last week, I'm just picking him to win the Brownlow every year for the next 10 years. So I haven't included, for that reason, I want it to be a little bit different. So
28 votes last year. He had that at round 18.
Yeah.
He was 5 clear, I think, at that stage. 7 votes. 7 times he got the 3 votes for best on ground. So he's 1 for me.
So
Who you got at 1?
You take Dacos. I'll take Gulden at 2. Finished 4th last year, 27 votes, 21 years of age. Sydney are going to win a stack of games. No one tags anymore. He's going to rack them up. He kicked 20-odd goals last year, and he's got the drive to improve. So I think he's going to be in the mix.
Yeah, he's in my 5. I'll take him out. So I've got Zach Butters in there. Now, he got 7 3-voters last year, a massive number. So when Butters and Rosie play their best in wins, Butters seems to get the advantage with the umpires. That doesn't change. I mean, once you're the umpire's boy or the umpire's man, that just holds. And champion data will back that up. There are some guys that get overs. Lockie Neal gets overs. Every time he plays a reasonable game, it's a 3-voter, not a 1. So I think Butters is one of those dudes, and he's in for me.
I had him in, so I'll take him out of mine as well. And just for those that are just joining us, we chatted before 6:30. I was at the Port Adelaide season launch and Hall of Fame. They rave about this guy. They reckon he's gone again in this pre-season with what he's done. So I think that is a shrewd bet to have him in the top 10.
Rave. Wow.
I've got
Francis, Butters,
Luke
Rosie,
Davies Uniac. Now this is a risk because he needs to play 20 plus games, and that hasn't been easy for him to do that. But if North can win 8 to 9 games, no one's taking votes off him yet. He explodes, he stands out, and some of the football that he played across the last couple of years, but last year, I think he's going to be a vote magnet this year. So something a little bit different with North, and it's a bit risky with his body and perhaps not them winning enough games. But I got LDU. Does that sit okay with you? Yeah,
it does. It does. He'll be hard pressed to get more votes than McKercher. But anyway, I'm going to throw in Noah Anderson.
Yes.
Got 6. Look, last year, right? They won 9 games last year. In those 9 games, he got the 3 in 6 of them, and the 2 in 1 other. So 7 of the 9 wins, he stacked the votes. I think he's a phenomenon. This guy, new coach, greater expectations. He'll challenge him more. Damien Hardwick will challenge this guy more than any other on that list to do more offensively for this team. So centre forward, I think you'll see more of Noah Anderson, and I think he'll be in the top half a dozen of the Brownlow.
Okay, I'm going to go with Tom Green from the Giants.
Ooh.
Tom Green to finish in the top 10 of the Brownlow medal. Now, 16 votes last year, but that's just your first year where people start talking about you. So the umpires need 2 to 3 seasons of the hype train before they start voting with where the votes should go. And now that the umpires are aware of who Tom Green is and the fact that Giants will win a lot of games, he's going to get 35 touches every week, and they're going to win a lot of games of football. That equals votes. Tom Green.
Yeah, good one. I'm tossing up between Petrarca and Lachie Neale for my last one. I'm going with Lachie Neale. Do you realise Lachie Neale? Lachie Neale, his last 5 years, he's gone 26, 31, and 8. I don't know what happened that year. A 28 and a 31.
They love him.
But he's the only guy that gets votes up there. So I'm thinking that just pencil this guy in. And there's a couple of games last year where we're wondering how he actually got the 3, but he did, and he stacked it and won them. So 7 lots of 3 last year. He's got 7 lots of 3 the last 2 years. So they're big numbers. So you have to have Lachie Neale in your 5.
You have to. And look, I've gone the new age generation. I could have easily had Bontempelli. I think he'll be at the business end. Petrarca's a good one. But I'm going to go the new generation and Jai Newcombe. 18 votes last year, and they won 7 games.
Didn't catch yesterday's training.
And he's a weapon. His 25 touches are as good as most people's 40. He's penetrating. I think he's going to kick more goals this year. He's on track to do that. He's gone 8, 12. That needs to get to probably 18 or 20 this year. So if the Hawks can win enough games, it's a bit like the Davies-Uniacke discussion, but he's going to be at the forefront of it. So there's our 5. Who's your 5? Who's your 5?
My 5. We're going to vote on. We're going to put on Twitter.
Yep.
What's it called?
Who's
X.
got the better 5?
I'm Dacos, Gulden, Neale, Butters, Anderson.
Okay.
Who are you?
I'm Butters, Gulden, Tom Green, LDU, and Newcombe with the headband, the long hair. He stands out.